This is Real Deal Sports Talk with KP, January 15th, 2019.
Reflect when true lyricism used to get respect, when an artist didn't have to sell their soul to get a check. Real music is dead, now it's time to resurrect. I reflect on the past and there's nothing I regret. We came a long way from spitting freestyles in the hallway. Got home from class bumping classic albums all day, writing rhymes that could change the world and enlighten minds. Started with a nice design, now we got the light to shine. Remember when that Nas dropped? Bumped the album non-stop every day, all summer. Copped it from the mom pops. Nowadays we're taking people back into the essence, when the lyrics had a meaning and the music had a message, when the MC wasn't hating our women and gun killing our brothers before they filled up the prisons from drug dealing. Rocked the stage and left the people feeling real positive. Y'all doing what's popular, we probably do the opposite. Y'all be in them skinny jeans, we be in them baggy sweats. Crowd always show us support, you like saggy breasts. A couple savvy veterans made it through the wilderness into the promised land, and we'll never forget the pilgrimage. Reflect when true lyricism used to get respect, when an artist didn't have to sell their soul to get a check. Real music is dead, now it's time to resurrect. I reflect on the past and there's nothing I regret. Reflect when true lyricism...
Nothing to regret at all. It is January 15th. This is Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. You can always find us at realdealsportstalkwithkp.com. So, announcement real quick. Super Bowl week, we will have a former 3-time Super Bowl wide receiver on the show. Tune in to shows between now and then as I will start to release more clues. But we will have a 3-time former Super Bowl wide receiver on the show. Super Bowl week, February 2nd, the Saturday before the Super Bowl. Wanted to get that out there right quick. We're looking at making some changes to the show. We might change up the platform a little bit. I'm working and trying out different ways to start adding some video. Just got to keep evolving, got to keep trying new things, got to keep getting better. So that's what we're going to do here. Keep getting better, keep bringing it, keeping it real, keep playing music by the Barbarians that we had there on the top of the show, and we will have at the end of the show as well. We're going to talk Divisional round today. We're going to talk about our McPresident. Are the Broncos stabilizing? Have they made some good hires here? Was the loss of Kubiak something that they can recover from? We'll discuss. We got some fun facts or, just some happenings to talk about at the end of the show. I guess not all of them are so fun. Yeah, they're all fun. They're all fun. And then, of course, we need to pay our respects with a moment of silence to a great in Keith Jackson passing away at the age of 89. Keith Jackson worked for a long time in the sports business as a calling games. Great, recognizable voice. If you don't know Keith Jackson, I'm sorry. You might not know him by name. I'm sure you're going to recognize his voice when you go Google him here in a minute. But I remember him most from college games. He did a lot more than college games, but he was so joyful. He loved what he did. He loved the sport of football. He loved the guys out on the field. He loved the kids out on the field. And that came through in how he called games, how he talked about things, how he carried himself. And you had to respect him for that. Some people tuned in for him. When he retired, I know that let a lot of people, their Saturdays were forever changed. And he'll be missed. But he's going to continue to inspire. His voice will live on to infamy. And I'm just thankful I got to hear him call. He definitely inspired me. He definitely brought joy to many a football call in my life. So with that, let's go to something else amazing. The divisional round this weekend, where all 4 home teams win. Both the 1 and the 2 seeds in each conference are moving forward again. That bye week showing itself to be very useful for these teams. As you guys know, I had called upsets in both AFC games. I had the Chargers winning. I had Indianapolis winning. And I also took LA and New Orleans to win their games. But my 2 upsets were both on the AFC side. So we'll go through the games in order, Saturday through Sunday. Kansas City, Indianapolis. Come on. Didn't expect Kansas City's defense to come out and play like that. Indianapolis was nowhere near the team that we have seen the previous few weeks. Kansas City's game plan did exactly what it needed to against Indianapolis's cover 2. And that defense just out-pressured the Colts offensive line, which was impressive pretty much the whole game. Jones, he's going to be a bad boy for years to come. I tell you what, that guy, he is impressive at the defensive tackle position. Eric Berry wasn't out there flying around because he was hurt. So imagine that defense on Kansas City had on Saturday, but then you throw Eric Berry back in there on the back end. Or you bring him up into the box. Whew. They keep playing like that, they could find themselves in the Super Bowl real quick. It was impressive. That defense was flying around. It was getting it done. And they shut everybody down. I know T.Y. Hilton was hurt. I know Marlon Mack was questionable coming into the game, but he played. They both played. And if you play, that means you're healthy. They shut him down. They took him out. T.Y. didn't have an effect on the game at all. Marlon Mack, not the same player. Andrew Luck had guys in his face the whole time. Tip passes. I mean, Kansas City had the game plan, the perfect game plan to come in and stop this very hot Colts team, to stop what Frank Reich liked to call, to stop what Andrew Luck was being successful with. And the weather also. His shoulder, maybe it's getting long in the season. Maybe that cold tightened it up a little bit. He wasn't able to play as loose and as strong as he normally does. Because his passes were not cutting through that cold in Kansas City the way Patrick Mahomes was. That kid's arm, it's strong. I get it. He is exciting to watch. He never gives up on a play. His eyes are always downfield. He can throw from all angles, which he attributes to playing shortstop growing up. Great story. And he threw it from all angles, and he made exciting plays, and he never gave up. Kansas City didn't have much of a running game against the Colts. But they were throwing it all over the field. Their defense was getting it done. They were putting them in good field position. That Kansas City team really, truly impressed me more on Saturday than they have the rest of the season. That defense has caught up with D. Ford and Jones. They have caught up to the offense. They are playing with enough swag right now that they are just making plays. Led the NFL in sacks this year. Why? Because mostly they were able to tee off because of what that offense was able to do. Complementary football. Imagine how that works. Making teams good. So, my pick didn't come out in that game. Indianapolis. Kansas City wins 31-13, just all over them. Moved to Saturday afternoon. I had the Rams in that one. And I'll tell you what, if the Rams are going to keep playing like that, if they're going to have C.J. Anderson going off the way he is, if they're going to have Todd Gurley right there going off the way he can, they're going to be tough to beat too and can find themselves in the Super Bowl real quick. You got the top 4 scoring offenses all making it into the final 4 teams. And LA did exactly what I thought they would. They shut down Zeke. They made Dak try and beat him. That's too much. Dak played, he's an average quarterback. There's going to be games where he goes off. because average quarterbacks can do it. John Kitten has done it. Trent Dilfer's done it. Brock Osweiler has done it. But for the most part, he's the guy who's going to manage your offense. He's not your playmaker most of the time. But he can manage your offense. He's not turnover prone. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And he couldn't get it done against the Rams defense. They won the line of scrimmage just like Kansas City won the line of scrimmage. In fact, every team that won this weekend won the line of scrimmage. And Dallas was able to keep it respectable, 30-22. They've got some good players, no doubt about it. They've got a system that's working for that set of players. Does that continue to work moving forward? How is that team going to evolve? What will they adjust? What will they add? What are they going to lose? Rams play on. And Ndamukong Suh arguably had his best game of the season. Aaron Donald, kind of quiet, but very disruptive. Marcus Peters and Amari Cooper are starting to get into it. And what do we know Marcus Peters more for now? His play on the field this season or his antics and his attitude? Like at some point, that's going to catch up to dude. He's got to just do what he does best. Go out there, ball out, shut down one side of the field so Talib can shut down the other side of the field and your pass rush can get out there and wreck shop. We don't need you talking to people in the stands, getting in fights with the receivers. You want to get under their skin? Fine. Get under their skin. But all this pushing back and forth, leading to personal fouls, looking like Josh Norman and Odell Beckham, nobody needs that. Nobody. So LA moves on with a good defensive performance and a great offensive performance in the run game, which is the adjustment they needed to make after losing receivers throughout the year. Sunday morning, I had the Chargers beating New England. New England just destroyed them. Score was closer at the end than the game ever was at 41-28, but New England reminded everybody they are the Patriots. 8 straight conference titles. 13 out of 16 years. Success personified. You gave them 2 weeks. They used that 2 weeks to go, okay, here's what Gus Bradley's running on defense. Here's exactly how you destroy that. Surgically down the field, running it, dink and dunk. I think Tom Brady's longest passes, his first drive was 6 yards. And they said something like the average pass length on the drive was 0.6 yards or something like that. Because they were catching them all right at the line of scrimmage and then doing what they do. And the Chargers answered on the second drive, which was great. It's like, okay, we got a little something going on. New England turns around, goes down the field, scores again. You feel this feeling like it's going to be a shootout. And then we were all reminded. Like, I'm not even, there's so many people still mad at New England and Tom Brady for being good. For cheating. Look, I'm not even mad about it anymore. Like, I'm still sick. Like, I was sick of seeing Clemson and Alabama, right? Well, that's only been a few years of it. There was a period where I was sick of seeing the Patriots. Now, as a football fan, not just a fan of the Detroit Lions, but a football fan, I enjoy watching the New England Patriots and the way they play the game and the way they are coached and the way their players are used in high efficiency situations based on their skill set and what they're able to do, and not just here's our system, line up and play. It's great. I enjoy it now. The precision, the way they incorporate different guys, the way they incorporate a different game plan week to week on offense and defense. and continue to have success year after year after year. In the ultimate copycat league, why has nobody else been able to figure that out? To duplicate it? Why is everybody not trying that? Like, I understand Matt Patricia, Bob Quinn, they might be able to, or might be wanting to make Patriots West in Detroit. But what they did on the field, their game plans, is not what New England does. They very clearly said, here is our system and this is what we're going to do. I did not expect the Chargers not to adjust. That 7 DB thing did not work. They were not able to get a pass rush. That kept 2 of their best players from having any impact on the game in Bosa and Ingram. They weren't able to shut down the little runs, the quick passes. And that led to New England just being able to do whatever they wanted for the most part. Gronkowski was used brilliantly, in my opinion. His blocking in that game was magical from the tight end position. He was like a floating extra tackle. I think he had 3 or 4 targets in the game. One great Gronk-like catch. He's going to give you those every now and then. He's still going to be a red zone threat because he can box you out. He can catch the ball. Great games. First 3. Great games. That leads us to New Orleans and Philadelphia, which was possibly the best game of the 3. In my opinion, it was. Some other fans of these other teams obviously would say otherwise. Philadelphia starts off hot. They have the lead. Saints come back. Get some field goals. Field goal missed. Mike Thomas. 3rd down and whatever. Can't guard Mike. Kamara. Hill. That's just a weapon right there. That's Cordell Stewart 2.0. That's what they got in Jason Hill. Put him in tight end, slot, receiver, quarterback, up man on punt return or punt team, back kick return, whatever. You know, just go run a play, man. Okay, coach. I love guys like that. And he's going to get a chance to do this and that, and eventually he might settle into a position. He might not have a super long career. But he's going to be useful the whole time. Antoine Randall L type. Cordell Stewart type. Put me in. I'll play, coach. New Orleans misses the first play of the game. Going backwards now. First play of the game, Drew Brees goes deep to Ted Ginn. Intercepted. I'm thinking right there, man, I like the play call early, but why did Drew Brees underthrow the guy? Why didn't he get it there? He underthrew Ted Ginn. Now, Ted Ginn's been out recently. He only just came back. So their timing wasn't in sync. Then again, Drew Brees missed some other throws throughout the game, too. Ingram was running hard. You saw the thing afterwards where they put the ski masks on like Philadelphia. They did it first. New Orleans, out of all the teams that won, looked the least impressive. Now the Rams have to go to New Orleans because they lost to them early in the year. New England's got to go to Kansas City because they didn't get it done, even though they beat Kansas City earlier in the year. Those games will be on Sunday. I'm going to give my predictions on Saturday and break those matchups down a little bit more. But I tell you what, I enjoyed the divisional round immensely. Philadelphia made it interesting. They had a chance at the end. I don't think Alshon Jeffrey by any means is going to be remembered for that catch or that non-catch and the ball going through his hands for Lattimore to then intercept and seal the win. That's not what anybody's going to remember is Jeffrey on that play. It's going to be Lattimore getting his second interception and sealing it. Miracle, Minnesota, we remember Stephon Diggs scoring the touchdown. Who can name the Saints DB that didn't make the play? I can't. Maybe Saints fans, Minnesota fans might. But his name's already been forgotten. And that image of Jeffrey, nobody's going to remember. He's the one that the hands went through. They're remembering the tip pass into Lattimore's hands. Lasting image. And Jeffrey played great. Had cracked ribs, apparently. Had a great game. So, Philadelphia's got nothing to be ashamed of. Good season with the injuries they had. They, out of all the teams that were probably the team that most played as a team, where all the guys were really giving it for each other. And I say that because they probably had the least, outside of New England, but they're just New England. They were probably the least talented team, top to bottom, that was left. Arguably. Well, Indianapolis. But they just... No. Yeah. Okay, so maybe Indianapolis. But they just played as a team. Like, the more they started to get back into that groove, you could see it. Playing for each other. Everybody coming together on the same path, same mindset. I got your back, you got my back. They're counting us out. They're not counting me out. We're going for it. I'm going for you. You going for me. And that's what I like about watching the Eagles play. Out of all those teams, I saw that personified the most, in my opinion, on their squad. So we got the Rams and the Saints at 1:05 Mountain Time, 3:05 Eastern Time on Sunday. Championship Sunday. And then we have the Patriots at the Chiefs, 6:40 Eastern, 4:40 Mountain Time. Could be the coldest game in the history of Arrowhead Stadium. There's a cold front that's going to be coming through. I think they said something like -8 or something. The game time temperature could be. Saints game's in a dome, so unless there's a hurricane, they're probably good. But that Patriots-Chiefs game, that's going to be fun. If it's that cold and it goes in tonight, that's going to be fun. That is going to be fun. Now, our McPresident kind of made a Mick fool of himself. Kind of made a Mick fool of Clemson. Kind of made a Mick fool of the White House. And his intentions, feed the college kids, feed the national champs. I hear they like fast food. I hear they get together as a team, have their team meal, and it's been fast food. Let's say his intentions were just. Let's say he wasn't doing it for a media thing to distract people, to be able to say, look, I paid for it. Look how great I am. You invite a national championship team from the collegiate level or from the pro level to honor them, right? That's why you're bringing them, to honor what they have just accomplished. And your impulse, because of the government shutdown you created, and now your staff's not there to cook for them or to have this be more honorable, is to pay for fast food. Not to pay for it to be catered. Not to not do a meal, because as many reactions I read, normally there's not a meal associated with the visit. But to get burgers and pizzas from McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's. Like, after thinking about it, because my initial reaction was McPresident, McFool. That is so ridiculous. You don't do that. Clemson players have been asked, and they've said things like, oh, it was great, love the fast food. Some players said they heard it was going to be that during the tour and thought it was a joke. Now, most of them have been schooled enough that they're not going to go out and give a real opinion to a camera or with their name on it. They go to a big-time program. They got media relations people who school them on how to talk. You be positive. It's great. Yes, that's good. Answer without answering. But I look at it as something that, again, let's say it was good intentions and all that kind of stuff. Then you failed. Because the president doesn't serve fast food. Let's go back presidents. Obama serves fast food. He gets torn apart. Bill Clinton or George W. Bush serves fast food. He's going to be called stupid. Bill Clinton serves fast food. Everybody's going to laugh because, oh, that's a joke. Look at Bill Clinton serving fast food. See where I'm getting at? Like, other countries go, look at what the president's doing. He's honoring these people who won a championship with junk food, with crap, with stuff they shouldn't be putting in their bodies. And again, they're college kids, they're football players. We all eat fast food in this country, so they enjoyed themselves. They did their best with what they were given. 8, 4, 5, 6 sandwiches, whatever. And this is one of the few teams that's been willing to actually go to his White House for their championship celebrations. So it's kind of shocking that something better wasn't figured out. That they went the route of fast food. Personally, it's embarrassing. It's ridiculous. I can't believe that happened. It looks like grandstanding to me, like it was just a photo op to say, look what I did for the kids. Look at me. I paid for it. I'm so great. I'm wonderful. Look at the great thing I did. Don't mind all the rotten stuff that's being said and that's being found out. Look at this. I paid for 1,000 sandwiches. Which we'll probably find out the restaurants who sent those sandwiches sent them to the White House for free. Or it was part of the White House's food budget. Or some other ridiculousness that he's taking credit for. So, I don't know. It was ridiculous. It was a joke. It was the McPresident doing his thing. Whew. Got that out of my system, huh? Well, Broncos, are they getting it out of their system? What do you guys think out there? Are the Broncos stabilizing? Are these hires they're making right now going to improve the team in some way? Is the loss of Gary Kubiak going to be something that they can't recover from? I kind of think they're teetering the line. I like some of the hires they're making right now. I like Fangio coming in because here's a hire to help coach your team's strength, the defensive side of the ball, where your best players moving into next season reside in Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. He's worked with defenses up and down the board. He's worked with good linebackers up and down the board. He's worked with good edge rushers up and down the board. And it looks like he's bringing some of his guys from Chicago, which thank you very much for that. Hopefully that, weakens Chicago's defense a little bit schematically, as a Lions fan, of course. It looks like he's bringing in some of his guys to coach those positions. So you have extra coaching now coming in on your team's strength. Your team's biggest weakness, your offensive line. You've now brought in Mike Munchak to coach them up and to help figure out how you're going to piece that line together. If you need to get rid of some guys, who's available, who you might be able to add, and then coach those guys up. What's up in the draft? Who does he see that's going to be a good player, a good fit for the scheme they're going to run? Now, more than likely, it's going to be some version of a West Coast offense, some version of what Gary Kubiak would have run, some version of what Mike Shanahan ran, what Kyle Shanahan runs, because Scangarello looks like he's the guy they want, and he's from that system. He knows that system. He's going to bring in that system. So Munchak's job will be to find guys that fit that system, that will be able to play, and or identify the guys on the roster now that will do that. Fangio's going to will have that defense going. If they bring in Donatel to be the defensive coordinator, they brought over the linebackers coach that worked with Mac and Floyd. All positives right there. Great hires. Looks like they're going in a great direction. Now, we thought Kubiak was going to be involved in the offense in some kind of capacity. A lot of people thought offensive coordinator. I thought he was going to be more of a consultant, like assistant head coach type thing that he's going to be now in Minnesota. But Kubiak's gone. Here's where that's a huge negative that quite possibly outweighs the hires that they just made. Horrible drafts before Kubiak joins the scouting department for a draft. Because last year was his first draft as part of the scouting department. And they nailed it. Their draft class was great. Unrestricted free agent Philip Lindsay came in. And their rookie class was great. So now they are forced to develop and come up with a new draft plan, trying to copy what they had last year with this year's people. Minnesota is gaining all of that. Kubiak's coming in as an assistant head coach, offensive guru, to help Stefanski, to help his son, to work with Cousins, who, hello, that's Shanahan's guy. He works with Shanahan. He's going to see the same thing in Cousins that Shanahan did, and he's going to be able to get it out of him. They have Cook. They have Murray. They have Thielen. They have Rudolph. They have Diggs. Expect that offense maybe not to be as explosive as Pat Shurmur's was, but to get back on track to next season for sure. Stefanski's still calling the plays, a little more familiarity with the players. Kubiak going to be able to insert himself and say, game plan, try this, do this. Here's a play for that. Here's my experience here. Here's what I've done with this. You call the plays. We'll consult. We'll move forward. I like it for Minnesota. I would have liked it here in Denver. Big knock, in my opinion, because of the draft class, because his ability to identify college-level talent, and the right talent at that. He didn't pick out a Paxton Lynch. Now, some say a lot of these players fell to him, and in certain respect they did. But you still had to know they were good enough players to take there and not miss them and take somebody else, which the Broncos have done over and over and over again before Gary Kubiak's addition to that draft scouting department. Elway's come out, said Vance Joseph was a mistake, so he's now admitting that and taking responsibility, basically, for screwing up the last 2 years, minimum. He's also said that, talking to Peter King, that Keenum is a short-term fix, and they're looking for their long-term guy. Well, since John Elway, they've had 17 different quarterbacks. They have not had a long-term guy since then. Most teams don't always have a long-term guy. Those guys tend to be some of the better quarterbacks, tend to be some of the guys that go on to be Hall of Famers. Manning was one of them, but he was here for 4 years. He was a long-term guy for the Colts. Plummer was here. Good quarterback while he was here. Took him to an AFC title game. Jay Cutler was a good quarterback here. Had he stayed with Shanahan, probably would have had a better career than he had, even though he had better numbers than some guys that are in the Hall of Fame. But so was Osweiler. So was Lynch. So was Danny Cannell. Tim Tebow. Not all Elway guys, but some of the 17 that have been there since him. So yes, ultimately, every team, 32 teams would would want that long-term guy. Of course, that's stable. That you know where you're going as a team. You know where you're headed. You know you're okay at that position, and you can do everything else on the roster. When you have a John Elway, you know you're building everywhere else, and you just have to have a serviceable backup. When you have Joe Montana, when you have Brett Favre, when you have Aaron Rodgers, when you have Tom Brady, when you have these guys, of course, it makes it easier. But your focus, your blinders should not be on to just finding that guy. You have to build a complete team. You can't go out and overspend on a Nick Foles to try and fix this. Nick Foles and Case Keenum were once on the same team. And in the same system, they were both garbage. Inside the systems that have worked best for them, Nick Foles in Philadelphia, Keenum under Pat Shurmur last year, they both have been pretty good quarterbacks. Foles, lucky enough to go ride it all the way through to the playoffs, through a Super Bowl, and then be given the MVP because he was the quarterback. Threw for 500 yards, beat Tom Brady. Of course, you got to give it to him. System guy, in my opinion. So are the Broncos stabilizing? Some. They're not on life support anymore. They're not looking like they need to make a fire sale and start over. They're looking like they have a direction. We'll have to see if some of these other hires take place and how they work the offseason to see if they actually have a direction. And I wish the best to Kubiak, I really do. But I'm glad he's going to be running the offense. I hope they don't do a modern version of it. I hope they do an older version of it. And they look like the Lions did under Jim Bob Cooter. Again, speaking as a Lions fan, of course. Outside of that, Gary Kubiak, great guy. I met him a few times as a kid. I played against his son at one point also. So, we'll see. I like that Elway's taking the blame, or at least admitting that he made a huge mistake in his hiring. And we'll see. We'll see. Stabilizing, yes. There, not yet. Kareem Hunt, talking to the Bears. Nagy won't rule out apparently not signing him. Said that his conversation was basically more just a personal call. They were just talking. They know each other from their time in Kansas City. Kareem Hunt will be back in the NFL at some point, I'm sure. He's young enough, talented enough. And what he was involved in was not to the severity of what Ray Rice or some of these other guys were in, even though there's video and some team is going to say, look, he's done what he needs to do. He deserves a second chance. That's going to happen for Kareem Hunt. I just hope it's not in Chicago and, somewhere else, because we can't put him and Tariq Cohen on the same club. Not fair. C.J. Anderson, after 5 years in Denver, including a Pro Bowl and a Super Bowl win, C.J. Anderson was cut by the Broncos this past offseason. He signed with Carolina before the season, but was waived in December. Then he signed with Oakland and was cut without even playing in one game. Signed by the Rams to back up Todd Gurley because Todd Gurley was hurt a little bit, banged up at the end of the season. And in 3 games has averaged 140 yards and has scored 4 total touchdowns. That continues for the Rams. Like I said, CJ and Todd Gurley, they will be in the Super Bowl come February 3rd. Tom Brady has a career record of 13-2 in the divisional round. The 2 quarterbacks that have beat him, Jake Plummer and Mark Sanchez. Unbelievable. Here's another good one about Brady. I told you, I'm just at awe with the Patriots right now. It's just good football. It's great to watch. Tom Brady has now won more playoff games than any other quarterback has ever played in. He has 28 career playoff wins. Manning has 27 career playoff games that he's played in. That is remarkable. And if it was your team, you would not have a problem with it. So respect the game. updated draft order for 2019, 1 through 28. Let's run through them really quick. Arizona, San Francisco, Jets, Oakland, Tampa Bay, Giants, Jacksonville, Detroit, Buffalo, Denver, Cincinnati, Green Bay, Miami, Atlanta, Washington, Carolina, Cleveland, Minnesota, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Baltimore, Oakland via Chicago, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, Oakland via Dallas, and the Chargers at 28. On February 17th, the Elimination Chamber, first ever women's tag team champions, will be crowned. It's about time. That's awesome. I think the belts look good. I got into it with a guy today on Twitter. He thinks all of the belts, except the ones in the UK, look like trash. Whatever. James Harden definitely right now is playing out of his mind with 57 points last night. He passed Kobe Bryant for the most 30-point games in a row with 17. And in that span, he even had one game where he missed 16 three-pointers and still scored over 30 points in that game. Kobe Bryant had more 50 and 60-point games in the stretch, but again, he's been passed. James Harden is easily the MVP frontrunner at this point. Others in the conversation, in my opinion, and we'll get into more of this after the NFL season, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis. I'm going to leave it at that because I will butcher his last name, and Russell Westbrook. I would also throw in Jokic here in Denver. What the Joker's doing, the big man's doing, is very, very impressive. Go Nuggets. You got Golden State tonight. First place on the line against Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant. Boogie's playing. So go out there, get that win tonight. Keep doing what you do, keeping the fans alive here in Denver. Until next time, you know how we do. Just be real.
Sincerely yours. Sincerely yours.
Dear Reverend, I can't believe you damn near 7. I wrote this letter to tell you that you a real blessing. And I don't even believe in heaven, with the exception, if it's really real, then no question that you would be the essence. You the best thing that happened since I met your mama. Nothing makes me happier than the honor of being your father. Ever since Shatana laid up in the labor room, I can't believe how much a new baby could really change a dude. You was a planned birth, walk around with diaper bags like a man purse. I was prouder than any man on earth. Your first birthday, time flies in the worst way, cause just the other day you was trying to climb out the learning cage. Now you running and jumping, laughing with so much joy, no greater satisfaction than when you holding your baby boy. Star Wars, dinosaurs, all the latest toys, I give it to you all, anything you could ever ask me for. I send a kite to the loved ones within my life, cause you're the inspiration for which I write. Sincerely yours. To my dogs who rep the squad from day one, we saying thanks, bruh, for embracing love. Sincerely yours. To all the fans who keep records spinning like ceiling fans and giving us a chance, you're extended fans. Sincerely yours. When I'm falling, my physical form is dead and gone, you can play this song in memory of. Sincerely yours.
Dear Mom, I just like to thank you for being strong. You could have gave up, but you just kept pressing on. Lost most of your vision, but I wanted you to see deep down inside what you really mean to me. Bend but don't break, don't ever get it confused. The survivor of the physically and mentally abused. We are all God's children, but you are like an angel. My whole being formed in your womb, and I'm thankful. Long hard hours on the grind in a bus, but you always found time to take care of all of us. I'm not rich with money, I'm wealthy, because you taught us always exercise and eat healthy. No father around, so I should have been a fool, but instead got a full ride scholarship to school. Always tried your best, never gave us bad advice. In the dictionary, see your picture next to sacrifice. I love you.
I send a kite to the loved ones within my life, cause you're the inspiration for which I write. Sincerely yours. To my dogs who rep the squad from day one, we saying thanks, bruh, for embracing love. Sincerely yours. To all the fans who keep records spinning like ceiling fans and giving us a chance, you're extended fans. Sincerely yours. When I'm falling, my physical form is dead and gone, you can play this song in memory of. Sincerely yours.
Sincerely yours. Sincerely yours. Sincerely yours. Sincerely yours.